Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll be going over something about Roundhill's MSTR Weekly Pay ETF, MSTW, that you may not have been aware of. As always, don't forget to smash that like button if you like this type of content so the algorithm gods know that I'm here. Hit subscribe if you're new so you're alerted every time I publish a new video about stocks, investing, finance, and news. But before I get started, I have to hit you with a quick disclaimer to appease those YouTube gods. This video is for entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. You should always consult a professional. With that out of the way, guys, we can get into the video. All right, so first and foremost, I have to give a shout out to XBTY in our Discord community. Link will be pinned as a comment. In case you want to join, make sure you fill out that questionnaire in its entirety, be specific or be denied. Anyways, I just want to give a shout out to XBTY because he was the one that alerted all of us to this change, right? Or not even this change, but to this new revelation, if I'll call it that, right? Because this actually threw me in for a loop. I did not know this about MSTW, right? So let's take a look. So this is MSTW, which is the MSTR Weekly Pay ETF from Roundhill. For any new subscribers, any new viewers, or anyone who's new to the channel or these ETFs, this is a weekly paying ETF with 120% exposure to MicroStrategy. All right. And what was weird is that he said that this does in fact do options. So we went to the webpage, MSTW, to check it out. And we actually scroll down and you can see it right here, the top holdings, MSTR. This is a call option for September 12th, 2025, right? This was actually really, really weird. It holds, or it has a 73% weighting in this ETF, right? And then of course it holds the common stock strategy at 15%. So what was really weird about this is none of the other weekly pay ETFs have this. I checked them myself. I went through each other one and they all use what's known as a swap agreement, right? That is what all of these weekly pay ETFs do. They use swap agreements. They don't do cover call options on the underlier. So I thought this was really weird. I actually went into the prospectus to check this out, right? So this is the most up-to-date prospectus from Roundhill, and we can scroll down just a little bit here. Boom, right here. So principal investment strategies, right? The fund is actively managed and seeks to achieve its investment objectives by investing in listed call options, including the flexible exchange options or flex options that utilize MSTR as the reference asset, or they use total return swap agreements that utilize MSTR as a reference asset and shares of MSTR that in aggregate return approximately 1.2 times 120% the calendar week total return of the common shares of MSTR while making weekly distributions, right? The fund will invest at least 80% of its net assets plus any borrowing for investment purposes in listed call options, including flex options, total return swap agreements that utilize MSTR as a reference asset, and in shares of MSTR. Okay, so what does all this mean? Why is this so important? Simply put, none of the other ETFs in this entire lineup use call options, right? So I thought that was really interesting. This is actually something that, kind of lined up because when they released the last, lineup of weekly pays, not W pay, but the actual last lineup, which I think was, GOOW, AVGW, HOOW, and one more or two that I'm not remembering right now. But when they released these, MSTW was not included in this, right? They actually released MSTW by itself. So I emailed Roundhill for just a little bit of clarification, and this is what they came back with. All right. So I emailed, hey, good morning. Question about MSTW. I see from the prospectus that only MSTW does flex options and actually lists a call option on their holdings. I don't see flex options listed in other prospectuses for other weekly pay ETFs. Will the other weekly pays start to incorporate the flex options like MSTW? Is there a reason why only MSTW has the flex option strategy? Looking at the prospectus and its release, it came after HOOW, GOOW, AVGW, etc. line up by itself. So wondering why the single launch. Thank you. And this was their reply. So I hope you guys can see this. They said, Eugen, thank you very much for your email. You are correct that MSTW is the only weekly pay fund that deploys the use of options. This was determined, or this was a determination made by Roundhill Investment Committee to best fulfill the fund's objectives. All right, so they sort of answered the question, didn't really. I don't know. They didn't answer if they're going to be updating the other weekly pay prospectuses with, the flex option piece. I don't think they will personally, but I could also see why they wouldn't answer that question right now, because I'm assuming it's, that they haven't filed for it, so they can't really talk about it. So that's just my opinion, right? But I did have a couple follow-up questions, and here were these follow-up questions. All right. Would this affect the 120% leverage exposure on this ETF for MSTR? Will this affect the price performance in any way, capped upside versus uncapped? Also, was the use of options just to meet the objective for income? Thank you, Sean, for your time. And then they replied back, this would not affect the 120% leverage exposure. The ETF is designed to seek approximately 120% of MicroStrategy's calendar week total return before fees and expenses. As with the other funds in the weekly pay suite, the fund offers uncapped levered upside to the underlying reference assets. Lastly, the options are deployed to achieve both investment objectives, to pay weekly distributions and to provide calendar week returns before fees and expenses that correspond to 1.2 times the calendar week total return of Class A common shares of MSTR. So there you go, guys. This is the only ETF in the weekly pay lineup that has call options. And what I find fascinating about this is that it's doing call options with the swap agreements and the common stock, and you're still going to get uncapped upside. That is the key. That is so important in this, because if there was capped upside on this ETF, I would 100% be getting out. There would be no reason to be in this ETF. I would probably just flock to RexShares MSII, or probably crawl back to Misty from YieldMax, in all honesty. But because, and it's just fascinating that they do have call options in this ETF, and they're still going to be able to offer uncapped upside, right? Whereas MSII, they have, 105 to 150% leverage in their ETF, one half uncapped upside with, the cover call strategy. So again, I just think this is fascinating, not only for, this ETF specifically because it's in the weekly pay lineup that primarily uses swap agreements, but it's also kind of a shift in the industry. Right now, you have in the industry, you have an ETF that's using primarily a cover call strategy with swap agreements, and it's still going to be 120% of the underlier's exposure, right? So if MSTR moved up 10%, this ETF would still move up 12%. If it was to go down 10%, it would still go down 12%, right? So again, I think that's just fascinating, not only for this particular ETF, but maybe the future. Maybe more weekly pay ETFs will adopt this, will adopt a cover call strategy implemented along with the swap agreements and exposure to the common stock of the underlier, right? So in this fact, it's MSTR. So I don't know, guys. I thought that was just really, really cool about this. You guys know that I do have a pretty decent position in this ETF. All right. So for MSTW, I have in total about $43,000, give or take. I'm currently down about $7,600. I do want to increase my position in this ETF. I do want to bring it up a little bit more, but I am trying to hold off and wait for probably a bigger dip. I don't know how much of a bigger dip I can get. This is already down 17%, almost 18%, right? So I don't know. I do, believe in MSTR long term. I think this ETF, in my opinion, of course, not financial advice, I think if you're bullish on Bitcoin and you're bullish on Bitcoin reaching, let's say 150 to 200,000 end of year, then, hopefully, based on, just what MSTR is, what strategy is, this ETF, should go up along with, MicroStrategy common stock MSTR, right? So again, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I'm also bullish on MSTR. So by extension, MSTW should also get some of that upside capture. And again, I wanted uncapped upside. I don't like the cover call ETFs where you have capped upside, because if MSTR was to pump, let's say, 30%, the MSTYs, the IMSTs, they're probably going to capture maybe 15, 16% of that, right? Because of the cover call option strategy that they implement. So I don't know, guys. I thought this was just a rather interesting fact. I don't know. It doesn't really change my mind about investing in it. As a matter of fact, I think it's just cool that they implemented this. And, this is just showing that the industry, the high yield investing, high yield ETFs, they're just constantly evolving, trying new strategies. So again, just my thoughts on all of this. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you got some value from it. Let me know down below in the comments what you think. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Does this kind of worry you? Is this something you should, be worried about? But outside of that, I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.